One of the questions that I get asked a lot is which state has the best weed? And I think that this is a really interesting question. And it's really hard to answer because there's so much variety in each state, especially if we're just talking about the legal stuff. Some of these states have hundreds, if not thousands, of different businesses that are putting stuff out. So it can be difficult to determine who has the best stuff. But one thing that I find interesting and that I like to point out is usually you'll find the best stuff in the places that have the most options. Some states, it's just cheaper to start a business over there. They don't have a lot of rules or regulations that prevent a lot of people from getting into it, like Colorado and Oregon and Oklahoma. You see a lot more businesses there based on the rules that they have than you see in some other states like Florida, Ohio, Michigan. I'm hearing about more and more states. We actually do every Wednesday on my Twitch stream a worldwide weed review, and I'm shocked to see the levels of quality in some of these different states. But one thing that I like to point out when people ask this question is, oh, does California have the best weed? Does Colorado have the best weed? The answer is they might, but you need to understand one thing. They might have the best weed because they have the most people growing it. They have the most competition. But one thing that also brings is the worst weed. The states that have the best weed also have the worst weed. There's just more levels of quality there. I've seen the worst weed I've ever seen in my life. The worst stuff I've ever seen in my life. Wouldn't buy it, wouldn't smoke it, wouldn't give it to my worst enemy. In a legal medical shop in Colorado Springs, they had 30 plus jars, different strains, different flavors. It all looked like doo-doo, just brown jar after brown jar after brown jar. All of it smelled like hay. I had never seen weed so bad, and I saw it in a medical dispensary. I'm like, oh, bro, we got this whole safety net of it's medical, it's gonna be medicinal, it's gotta be of a certain quality. Like, I really think that you can find the worst weed on the planet in California. The same way that I think that you can find the worst slice of pizza in New York. Now, I'm not saying New York pizza is bad, but everybody in their head is like, a good slice of pizza, go to New York. You know who takes advantage of that mindset? People that sell terrible pizza. They're like, well, they're just gonna buy it because we're in New York. We don't even have to try. That's not everybody doing it. That's not every pizza place. But you can get some terrible pizza in New York. New York City pizza place. Check the reviews. Check with some locals. See who's got the good slices. It's not like you just go to New York City, you pop into any old Domino's, and the pizza's like 30 times better because you're in New York City. You're still eating Domino's. They still put sauce and cheese on cardboard. You know what? Domino's is a little bit better than cardboard. They used to sell cardboard, I think. But the same way a lot of people are going to assume they're just going to get any old slice of pizza in New York City and it's going to be the best ever, is the same mindset that some people have when they go to California and just buy some flowers. I've heard a lot of stories from different people who go to California and they don't do any research. They just end up at any old shop. And there's some places that just pop up overnight and they're just pushing out doo-doo to your mids. There's a lot of places in California specifically that will market themselves as licensed shops and they're not. I saw a couple of years ago, even like on a website like Weed Maps, where they're trying to list all the official sites, there's a lot of gray market stuff up there, a lot of non-licensed stuff of people selling fake carts. So it's wild to think. The places that have the most people growing it, there's the most competition. That means it's the hardest to sell if there's tons of it. I find the states where it's harder to get in the business, especially like from the pictures I've seen, from the stories that I've heard from some people, where you don't have a ton of options and it's expensive to get into the business. Usually the average quality is higher. It's not going to be as good as the best stuff you're seeing in like Colorado or Washington, but like the average quality is usually higher than the places where you just have tons and tons of options. I know Oklahoma has the most places where you can get flower, concentrates, whatever. I bet if you went around to a lot of the shops, you would see some scary stuff, just based on how cheap it is to get into the business. Some of you are like, yeah, let's just start a dang old weed store. I think my uncle used to grow in the 70s. Maybe he remembers how to do it. They don't pay a professional grower. They're just paying their uncle in like beer and mids. I don't know. So look, if you're going to vacation somewhere, you still got to do a little bit of research. Try to end up at a reputable shop, because there's people out there that are going to take advantage of you. Because you're thinking you're going to get any old California weed and it's going to be the best stuff you ever got. Any old Colorado weed, it's going to be the best stuff you ever got. Either way, I thought this was an interesting topic. Have a lit day, my dudes. I'll see you on Twitch.